How should we women deal with conspiracy theories? Well, it's been quite an awakening the last 3 years. If you ask me, what the January Donovan was 3 years ago, I would say that I'm probably unrecognizable to myself. In the very beginning of the pandemic, I felt like there was a lot of confusion, like most of us, and I didn't know what to believe because there was so many things that were coming at us 100 miles an hour, and there was a lot of fear of what this virus is. And it wasn't just the virus, it was all the other things that came with it. It was the mask, it was, what our government is doing, it was the new world order, whatever that was sort of, plaguing the internet. Now, fast forward to today, where this January Donovan has in some ways awakened to the spiritual warfare, but not only that, to a world where I was asleep for most of my life. I did not realize the massive uh, collaboration by corporation to, I would say, dehumanize us. And, you know, I feel kind of in some ways manipulated. And let me tell you what I mean by that as a woman. I feel like I did not want to be called a conspiracy theorist. I did not want to be called somebody who was listening to all these things that were sort of fringe news. Uh, and in so many ways, it was very valid because there was no information or the truth about it. And so as a woman, I'm listening to information. I don't know the validity of it, but at the same time, I'm like, this kind of makes sense. If you put two and two together, why do, why do we have companies that are owned by the same big companies such as BlackRock and Vanguard? Now, I remember hearing this probably 2 years ago. I'm like, this is crazy. And you'd hear these news about conspiracy theories and you're thinking like, that can't be true. And what's my role in there? That was my question. Like, what's my role? And I feel manipulated in a sense that every single time I wanted to question what truth was, or I wanted to share what I believe I was discovering, I was afraid to be labeled this conspiracy theorist. Now, fast forward to now, I think that I am gaining a little bit of strength in my voice from the very, why? Because I think when you do your own homework, you realize that so many of these conspiracies are not conspiracies. Rather, you were manipulated to believe that they are so that you could succumb to perhaps a more sinister agenda to control humanity. Now, whether you believe it or not, go look at your facts. That's the whole point of this blog, is that there's this old version of January who really kind of believed everything that she was told. And I came from the Philippines, where my parents drilled it in my mind that when you go to the United States, you go there because it's a land of the free and politics is not corrupt. So I never imagined waking up to sort of a world where there was a lot of corruption in politics. I worked in politics for 4 years. I worked as an executive assistant to a congressman for 4 years of my life. I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention to it, didn't really see what was sort of happening around it. Maybe I was also blinded. But now, as a mother, you are almost forced to dig a little bit deeper on the research behind your child's health, behind, I remember digging deeper about the mask. I wanted to know what the facts are because something wasn't sitting in my mind about having my 4-year-old breathe the same exact kind of air. And so you go down this path, and what you realize is, whoa, there is a more sinister agenda that is kind of collaborating around us to dehumanize women. And now we're in this world as of a year ago where we can't define what a woman is. I'm like, what is happening? This conspiracy theorist, this conspiracies doesn't seem so crazy after all. And so I guess the question we have to ask ourselves is that, what do we believe and what do we not believe? Number one, we as women cannot be, cannot not pay attention. We can't just sit in the back seat and say, well, whatever my doctor says is right, whatever the government is right, we have to pay attention and we have to do our homework. That's what I realized about myself, and that I allowed, I believe, the experts to manipulate me because I trusted them. I trusted the system. I trusted the education system. I trusted the healthcare system. And now I am waking up to the idea that the pharmaceutical companies own a lot of things. And I just heard a research as of recent, and do your own homework. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm here as a woman wrestling with the reality that I am there's an attack against me, an attack against my family that is not so far away, but rather in my doorstep. And I have a duty and obligation to do my own research and my own homework. I can no longer trust the institutions that I used to trust to give me accurate data and to give me accurate information, whether it's media, whether it's politics, whether it's a healthcare system, whether it's CDC, whether it's our mandate from the local government. I have to check everything. Now, am I saying that they're all wrong and they're all doing things and they're all corrupt? No, I'm not saying that. Obviously, I just think that there's corrupt human beings and that we could be a victim to that corruption if we are not vigilant. So number one, we have to be vigilant. We have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to our doctors. We have to pay attention to what we're eating. We have to pay attention to where our food's coming from. We have to be more hyper vigilant. And unfortunately, that requires so much more energy, mentally and emotionally, physically and spiritually. We can pray our way through a lot of these things, but it is because now you have to be your own advocate. Number two, we have to learn to speak up, being our own advocate, whether you're the doctor's office, whether you're at, local bookstore or your school board or your community, and they're enforcing things that you feel like in your gut, something's not right. Now, you're not saying I'm going to enforce it on you, or I think that you should do things my way. You're just saying I'm not comfortable yet with doing it that way, or I'm not comfortable with, the fourth booster. I'm not comfortable with you masking my 4-year-old daughter. We have to learn the courage to speak up. So we stay vigilant. Number two, we have to speak up. We can't be silent when we know there is a direct attack on humanity. Now, we're not living in the same world. Well, maybe there's an agenda, an attack on humanity that's been pushed forward for years and years, and I have been asleep. January Dawn, I've been asleep, and I try to pay attention. It's not like I kind of intentionally is clueless. I think that it's really just out in the open right now, and you can't afford not to actually speak up when you feel like, well, what's going to happen to the bathrooms? Why is there pornography in our elementary school that we're teaching? Why are we not teaching, the Constitution of the Bill of Rights? You have to speak up. And if we have women that speak up, then we have greater accountability in our government. So I'm not here to tell you to believe or not to believe on conspiracy theory. I think there is a call for a new kind of woman who's going to be vigilant and who's going to speak up, but also is going to be based on facts and truth. She's not going to be compliant about what she hears and what she is told to do. Maybe once upon a time that was January Donovan, but that's no longer the case. And I think it's because of a lot of awakening of, I would say, manipulation that I realized was walking into. So, my invitation to you is that you do your own homework and check your facts. Be a woman who's not afraid to actually dig a little bit deeper and get your own research. Because if you look at what he's saying about the connection of all the industries that are, promoting a lot of GMO in our food, you can't help that. And I remember listening to on alternative news of how the FDA, and this, you can check your own facts, because this is my goal here, is to not spread conspiracy theories. My goal here is to get you to be more vigilant in checking your own facts, and also voice your opinion and not be afraid. Be a woman of courage. And it was sort of connecting the dots of the president or FDA and where they worked in the food industry, and then they were moved then from there to the pharmaceutical company. I'm like, wow, everybody's in bed with each other. What is going on? And I thought, and now we have an obesity problem, and somehow we can't, can't take care of diabetes. I mean, you're connecting all these sinister things that are happening, and you feel helpless. You feel helpless. But here's the thing. We will not feel helpless if all of us actually do our work together, because if we speak up and if we do not allow being manipulated or to comply on things that we haven't done our homework, then they can't control people. So every single time somebody says to you, are you conspiracy theorist? I said, well, I just want to be able to look at the facts. And that's really what I don't want conspiracy theories either. I mean, I don't want my children to live in conspiracy theories and things that are just heightened emotions for the sake of, but I also don't want them to be unaware of the state of our culture, where there is propaganda that's being this bombarding because it's actually owned by these companies. And it's directly impacting our media, it's directly impacting our food industry, and it's directly impacting our healthcare, and how our healthcare industry is subsidizing colleges. And I'm thinking, colleges, this is where a lot of the ideologies are born. And what's happening? I was talking to a doctor the other day, and he was saying, he's like, January, 3 years ago, I feel like I just had this, I couldn't sit with myself, because I felt like I was listening to, I've always revered the pharmaceutical company because they've done so much to, heal and create a lot of these medicine that's really moving forward and healing people. But I have to be honest with you, I am seeing how sinister the pharmaceutical company, and this is a doctor of a pharmaceutical company, but my hands feel so tied, because the moment I say, I don't think I should be giving that drug to that person, it's not healthy, I don't think we should be, promoting in booster number 4, they're going to take my license away. And I thought, oh, wow, like, even our doctors are being, manipulated, where they can't speak the truth and do what's best for their client, because they are told that if they do, then their license will be taken away. I mean, we don't have to look far to actually think what's happening in the world. And here, to me, is the biggest issue. This is the biggest issue as a woman, is if we are lukewarm, if we are living in the comfort of our own home, where life is good, nothing is nothing is going to sort of rattle us, because we're just busy trying to take care of our homes and our family. I think time is up for that. And I say that to you. I was listening to a podcast for PBD, which is Patrick Bet-David. I really have come to appreciate him as of recent. He had what's his name, John Robert F. Kennedy there, and he was giving sort of his information and vaccine, but it was also how YouTube was silencing him. I was like, what? How is this happening in America? How are we being robbed of free speech? And in that same situation, I was listening, and this podcast, he was saying that this host was saying, it's like, how do we come to a point where these companies are taking over, that Vanguard and BlackRock is taking over our food industry, our children's health? I mean, I was talking to a woman yesterday who, her daughter had eczema for 6 years, head to toe. I mean, bleeding, like it was so bad. And she went on this sort of detox because it was because of the metals, and her daughter's completely healed right now. And she had went through so much to get her daughter kind of healed from all these what is it called, metals. And then her older daughter actually had she had like wasn't a heart attack, but her heart sort of stopped pumping, and they were in the middle of vacation, and it was really frightening. And she went on for a year, but she connected the dots and she realized that it was coming from an HPV vaccine. Now, this host was saying, how do we come here where so many people are, have myocarditis and all these different obesity, and that we've got pornography in our children's school. And he said, I'll tell you exactly why. I said, good people are asleep. And I'm really sitting there and I honestly felt a punch in my gut because I know he was talking about me. And, I think I try to live a good life, to take care of my family, to do the work that I do with women, to train women, to have a beautiful marriage. But I realize I don't want to get into non-controversial things. And my team knows I'm like, I want to be able to make sure that I don't speak anything controversial. I don't want to talk about, the vaccine, or I want to talk about the mask, or I don't want to talk about, politics. I just don't. It's not my lane. I train women for a living. I train them about mindset and skill set. But here's what I realized when he, sort of saying that is that I'm lukewarm. I'm silent in the face of evil. I'm silent in the face of an attack against humanity, and I'm selfishly living my comfortable life, afraid to speak up so that my world won't be rocked by criticism, or people will say, oh, that's conspiracy theory. And I'm thinking, how selfish of me, January. And I'm leading thousands of women, and I am also culpable for their ability to rise up in courage in a time where there is a war against humanity and a war against our worth. You've got a sinister agenda of people from the top that are actually telling us we need to eat like this. And now we've got, I have friends and women that I train where their children are suffering physical health, like that friend that I told you, because they were duped into a system that said, well, you've got to take, 30,000 vaccines before the age of 7. And there's actually statistics now that is saying that people are pushing back against vaccines in general, not just COVID vaccine, because of the awakening that's happening of saying, well, if there's metal there and this is what's happening, then maybe that's the reason for my allergy or my eczema, or people are questioning, which I celebrate. That's really the goal for here, is that we can't afford not to question. And that's my fourth point, is that women have to question. Women have to not sit back and allow, comply without understanding the facts behind it. To me, it is our duty to not be lukewarm. It is our duty to defend the value of women, to defend our families, to defend our nation, to defend humanity. And I was telling Ryan, I was like, Ryan, I'm kind of done being silent. I'm kind of done, just wanting to be in a space of non-controversy. I train women for a living, but maybe my call is to train women to speak up. Maybe my call is to train women to be more vigilant and pay attention, that their mindset is firm and it's strong and it's resilient, so that they can defend themselves and their family in the face of evil. And that's the invitation I have for you here, is that we cannot stay silent and compliant in a world that's dramatically sinister. And we're seeing that, and you can check your facts. And I'm sure that a lot of things are truth are twisted, and there's probably a lot of conspiracy stuff in there that are also making people believe that it is actually not accurate. But it's hard to actually look at our world and not see that there isn't a sinister agenda. I think there is a silent majority of women and men that are awake, and that they have been woken up in the last 3 years, because their life has been, completely, I would say, turned upside down, that they're questioning it. And I'll say that in America, we're more non-compliant, and I've become, non-compliant as a woman. But even then, I was still manipulated because I trusted organizations that I thought had my best agenda. So here's a take-home point: is there's a new kind of woman that's called in our current culture, and she's strong in the face of evil. She's not weak. She's not to be taken for granted. She's not silent. She is also not unreasonable. She's studying. She does her own homework. She's vigilant. She questions. She also engages. She listens. She also is able to be wrong and say, you know what? I thought I was right in that, but I guess I'm not right. But she's not going to just take what she's told to be true. She's not going to just believe the lies that she's been told and not stay and not speak up. That is the kind of woman that we need for such a time as this. And here's the thing: if we do not do that, then who? What are our children going to do? We're going to be in this world where women are men, men are women, and our health is, I think right now they're pushing for more vaccines. And I'm like, how can people push for more vaccines when I'm seeing myocarditis every day? I'm seeing my, family members of mine that have had stroke because of it. And I'm seeing team members of mine that are having massive side effects. How are they even doing this? So they're doing it because women out there are not, they think that women out there are complying. And here's what I think women are. Women are strong. We are resilient. We are guardians of our culture. We are, torchbearers. And I truly believe that women in the past 3 years have waken up to a sinister agenda. And I think we're ready for this new kind of woman. And we are no longer going to allow a world to push us over. And we are now rising. We are now saying the silent majority of women is, we are waking up and we are going to battle for our families. We are going to battle for our nation. And I see it. I'm so encouraged by so many men and women that are speaking truth and defending truth, defending God, defending our country. I mean, oh, this beautiful land called America, which I am so eternally grateful for because it's the land of the free. It's the land of the free. What I mean is that my parents came here because we had greater freedom here than a third world country in the Philippines. And I had such reverence for the flag because I would never imagine having the life that I have now, this beautiful life, being married and being able to do my job and train women and build a business while also being a stay-at-home mom in the Philippines. We are in a beautiful country. And I think we need to pay attention to the sinister agenda against our country because we are the last stop to freedom. And if we're not free, nobody's free. So women, rise up. A new woman for such a time as this. We can no longer stay silent. And if you are called conspiracy theorist by your family members or whoever, which I doubt that's going to be the case. So many things right now are coming up. Get your script ready and say, well, tell me what's conspiracy theory about it. And is it prudent for us to actually question simply because we've been lied to? I mean, look at CDC and how much we've been lied to about the different, recommendations. I mean, it's right out there where we have a CDC who's trying to change motherhood to birthing parent. I mean, we've got to be able to see this. And I really believe in my heart and in my gut that there's a new one being forged now in a battle against evil. And we are going to rise stronger than we ever will. And that, yes, we are going to be, that they're going to try to back us down and they're going to get us through vaccines and get us through our health. And they're going to get us into all the different, vehicle that they can control. They can control humanity. They can control the heart of a woman. But here's the thing, is that if we have God with us, then we have everything we need to fight this war against women and against humanity. And I think now is the time. I think this is a time for a movement. This is a time for women to rise up like it's never before. This is a time to say, oh, life is so hard. And, the dishes, the children, we're done. We're done with a hot mess, mama. We are done. We're saying, no, 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 no. This mom is going to rise up. This mom knows exactly who she is, her value, her worth, her divine gift from God. It's a divine gift from God. And she's no pushover. That you can't tell her, oh, she's a conspiracy theorist. No, no, no. Enough is enough. Bring me your facts. Show me what you have, and I will gladly listen. But if we all do that together, and if we have a united voice in saying, well, show me your facts, then perhaps we will not be susceptible to all the propaganda and the agenda against us women. We have an obligation, women, to defend the value of women for generations to come. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? This is a war against women, against humanity. And this is how we win it. We win it together. We win it with courage. We win it with hope. We win it with a vision, and we win it with the strength of our discipline. And we will not stay silent.